Everybody ready?
Oh yeah.
Okay, in three, two, one. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Fourth and Inches. As always, I am your host, Alexander Bonafonte, and once again, they let me record, so I'm gonna upload. I'm back once again with my very special guest.
Yeah, I'm seven.
And hello, I'm Ryan.
Hopefully, this time you can hear Ryan. I know last episode couldn't really hear Ryan, so hopefully we can get his opinions on it. But if he goes talks about the Cowboys, it's okay if he just we don't hear him for that.
No, my Cowboys points must be heard.
Yeah, that's what you and 90% of the country says, but the other 10% doesn't want to hear it. But we're not here to talk about the Cowboys. We're here to talk about the game of the episode, and that game is the Baltimore Ravens heading to the Jacksonville Jaguars in probably a very surprised upset of the year. Maybe not the biggest upset of the year, but the Jaguars pulling off the win 28-27. What do you guys think about the game?
Um, it was a very fumble heavy game, very turnover heavy. Both teams were dropping the ball. A lot of lead changes. It was a pretty exciting game.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It wasn't the cleanest game by far from either team, but it had an exciting ending. Probably one that we didn't expect. And it should be interesting going forward, seeing how these teams are able to play the rest of the way.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it was both teams kind of started off okay, but nothing like too crazy. Like you said, the turnovers were pretty apparent throughout the game, but at least I would say overall the Ravens were moving the ball to the red zone, and then the Jaguars' defense, one of the surprisingly, you would think it's a middle of a pack defense, but it's been one of the worst defenses all year. Was stopping the Ravens in the red zone, so that was impressive on their part, and that kind of kept them in the game up until the end when Trevor Lawrence decided that he's gonna finally show up and be a quarterback for once, and helped his team ultimately win the game in the end.
Yeah,
Uh,
Trevor Lawrence has had an interesting season. I feel like it's been so up and down. He's gone from being almost dead and one of the worst quarterbacks in the draft class to, pulling off a win like this, which is very impressive.
yeah, like most definitely. I mean, it's still yet to be seen where his career trajectory is going to go because he's only 2 years into it, and this is the first year with like a stabilized coaching staff. But you could see overall, it is a huge improvement compared to his coach last year, Urban Meyer, who did nothing but kick kickers the whole year. All right. So I mean, there's a couple superlatives to give out. A couple big players stepped up, but for the Baltimore Ravens side of the ball, I would say the player of the game was most definitely Lamar Jackson. He didn't have, a lights out performance, but he threw for 254 yards. He threw for a touchdown, and as always, he was Lamar Jackson. He teared it up on the ground with 89 rushing yards. For the Jacksonville Jaguars, there's a couple people you could pick for the player of the game, but I think overall Zay Jones was the savior because he had 11 receptions for 145 yards, and he just kind of seemed to be, whenever Trevor Lawrence needed a completion for some big yardage, Zay Jones was just open. He found the separation he needed and, caught any of Trevor's passes when the game needed it the most.
Oh yeah. He was pretty clutch.
He was most definitely clutch. So this is the awkward part because this is usually where I go and say the injuries. But fun fact: this is the second time we've had to record this episode. It's almost a week later, so the major injuries from 2 weeks ago kind of don't really matter because There was nobody major for the Ravens that game, and for the Jaguars, Travis Etienne Jr. had a foot injury or a knee injury, but he played the following week, so he was obviously good to go. But I guess for the Ravens, I mean, again, we're not talking about the next Ravens game. They won their next game. Spoiler alert. Those of you who somehow can read the future. But Lamar Jackson went down with a knee injury. So that I think that's a more interesting thing to pivot to, where we think each of these teams will kind of go from here, because what we thought a week ago is kind of now, in my opinion, completely different than what we said then. What do we think?
I mean,
sorry, go ahead.
no, I mean, I don't. It's like hard to figure out where these teams are going to go now. Both of them have some really good rosters, and I think the more interesting one is where the Ravens are going to go. If they're able to hold on to a wild card spot, or if they'll completely fall out.
Yeah, I mean, from the reports I'm hearing, it sounds like Lamar Jackson's definitely going to be out this week. It's not 100%, but it sounds like he'll be at least shut down for this following week. But then after that, they're kind of hopeful they might get him back. So I think with that, they might be able to hold on to the wild card spot. Right now, I believe they're tied for Cincinnati for the division lead, but they have the they played them once, so they have the current tiebreaker because they beat them that first time. So for now, the division's theirs. But man, the way Cincinnati's playing, I don't see why they wouldn't win the division, but you never know. And then in terms of the Jaguars, again, we thought they were finally putting things together, and then this week, another spoiler alert, they absolutely, let the Lions pounce them and just tear them up. So they had another one of their down weeks. So I don't think they'll be feisty and play for a wild card spot, but they're playing at this point for their pride, and they kind of keep putting the pieces together and to develop, that young quarterback and Trevor Lawrence to see if we can get this guy going in the near future, because they have pieces on offense. They just, can't put it together, and that's why you play the games.
Yeah. I think. Seven, you go.
They definitely fumbled the bag this week. I was expecting them to put up a good fight. They did not.
Yeah, I think a lot of people expected not the outcome that happened.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen, especially with such a young quarterback, is that you'll expect certain things from him, and then he's just not going to be able to deliver it. So.
Yeah, I mean, again, the jury's not out yet on Trevor Lawrence. He still has, I think, out of the Q5 QB, drafted early on in his draft, I think he has the best skill set still. Because, I mean, Justin Fields is great, but he's not on a great team. Trey Lance, you don't know anything. We don't know what Trey Lance is. We thought we were going to know what he was this year, but he gets hurt. Was that week 2 or week 3? So we don't know what he is.
True.
Mac Jones, can't tell what he is. He had a great rookie year. But then, for some reason, the Patriots are like, we don't need to give any coaching staff to you. You're now Tom Brady. You can run everything on your own. And clearly he can't. And then, who else? I don't even remember who else was drafted. Oh, Zach Wilson, who's probably never going to play in New York again as a starter.
Poor guy.
I mean, he did it to himself. Like, come on. You take no accountability after putting up 3 points against a not very good Patriots team, and you go, nope, I didn't let my defense down. The Super Bowl caliber defense, it's not our fault. So
it's a pretty bad look.
Yeah, so again, the book's out there on Lawrence. He can prove himself. He's got 5 games left. So if he can just play, maybe not, he doesn't have to play lights out, but if he could just be consistent and just not put the ball in harm's way, go through his reads, make the smart decisions, I think he could have a good close to the year, and hopefully the Jaguars can be something in the next couple of years because he's got the talent. But you never know. That's why they play the games. They don't just go off of who's got the best roster.
That's true.
Yeah, because if they did that, the Cowboys would win the Super Bowl.
I don't know about that. I mean, on paper, I still think the Bills, or now the Eagles, have more complete rosters, but everybody's banged up. This is the point in the year. It's a battle of attrition. Who can keep it together? Who can survive the injury bug? And who can put it all together to hopefully make a stretch run? Cowboys, I'll give you credit, even though I hate to say it. They do look like a very complete team right now. It does look like they're going to be very hard to beat, but they're going to probably not pass the Eagles, and so they'll have to play, the NFC South team, and the Bucs have had your number for some reason, so it's probably going to be the Bucs, but who knows?
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. But it is interesting we were saying about the injuries because, perfect example is the Ravens. They've had the injury bug all season, and now when it comes the most important time of the season, they get another huge injury. So I don't know what it is, but bad luck, I guess.
I mean, that's kind of what football boils down to. Do you have just enough luck to put it all together? All right, that was a pretty good conversation, I would say, overall. Do you guys got anything, closing thoughts or arguments you want to make before we wrap up?
No, I think I'm good.
Yeah, just that the Patriots suck and the Cowboys are better than them.
I'm a professional host. I won't bow down to that. I won't attack. Because we could be here probably longer than every game put together this year if you want to hear me rant about the Patriots. But we won't. Yeah, so I think that's all we got for you today. Thanks for listening to another interesting conversation on 4th and Inches. The Week 13 slate was pretty crazy. I would say most of the big games lived up to the hype, except the Eagles, Titans. We're not going to do that game unless we want Ryan. Actually, it would be interesting to hear Ryan try to praise the Eagles the whole time, but we won't do that. The next episode we'll probably do is the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Kansas City Chiefs, because that was a pretty good game overall. And that has huge playoff implications down the line, as we see, because, the winner of that game kind of shifted the whole AFC playoff picture. I'm not going to say what it did because we'll save that for the next episode. All right. Thanks once again for listening to 4th and Inches. My name is Alexander Bonfanti, and we'll catch you on the field next time. Peace out.
Bye.
Cowboys suck.